Okay, picture this. You're standing on the muddy banks of a river, staring across at a group of people who have literally never laid eyes on anyone from the outside world. No way, right? It sounds like a movie script. But no, this is the absolute reality of our shared planet, right now. Today, we're diving into this explainer to unpack the profound and honestly super misunderstood reality of uncontacted peoples. We're going to break down the myths, look at how they actually survive, and discover the shared humanity that connects every single one of us. So what actually happens when two entirely different worlds collide? Well, let's go back to the documented first contact with the Tulambi tribe in Papua New Guinea. Imagine the absolute fear, but also the intense fascination. The tribe's headman approaches with these short, terrified breaths. To him, the explorer's camera lens is literally perceived as a strange creature with an evil eye. They're rubbing the explorer's pale skin just to see if it's paint or actual flesh. To build trust across this massive gap, the explorer offers really simple elemental things. A pinch of salt, which the headman tastes super cautiously, a mirror, and just think about that for a second. For the very first time, these individuals see their own reflection as a solid object, not just some trembling image in a jungle puddle. Every single gesture is this incredibly delicate negotiation. And what's totally wild is how something as simple as a match, instant fire, can bridge the gap between a tribe using stone axes and visitors from a society that flies in airplanes. To the tribe, the explorers were seen almost as spirits, the living dead. When the explorer strikes a match, the bravest warrior touches it and actually burns his hand in total disbelief. He tastes the phosphorus, obviously finds it awful, but this gift of instant fire, it completely convinces the tribe that these strange visitors are socially acceptable and aren't an immediate threat. It's honestly like a time warp, a massive leap across human history, all facilitated by a tiny little wooden stick. All right, let's zoom out for a second. Who exactly are we talking about here? Organizations like Survival International use a very specific classification: Indigenous Peoples Involuntary Isolation. Now, the key word there is voluntary. These are not lost people who just accidentally missed out on the 21st century. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they are actively choosing isolation. They reject contact as an ongoing choice to resist intrusion. And you know what? They absolutely thrive when their rights and territories are respected. It's a highly logical, deeply intentional survival mechanism.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. We absolutely have to ditch those sensationalized tropes of savages or Stone Age relics. The factual reality? These isolated groups are our living contemporaries. Historically, yeah, colonial ideas painted them through this mythical lens, searching for lost tribes or hidden kingdoms. But look at the facts. They aren't stuck in some primitive past. They are living right now in the exact same year we are. In fact, many of them have had previous, highly devastating contact with the outside world, and they've actively chosen to return to isolation to protect themselves. They're navigating the modern world simply by choosing to stay hidden from it. So you might be wondering, how many of these groups are actually out there today? Well, the number is 196. That's the total estimated remaining uncontacted groups globally, according to a massive 2025 report by Survival International. To put that into perspective, if you add it all up, we're talking about roughly 10,000 individuals worldwide who live completely independent of our globalized, hyper-connected systems. 10,000 people. Out of over 8 billion people on Earth, this tiny fraction represents the absolute edge of human isolation. And if we look at where they actually live, the vast majority are concentrated deep within the Amazon basin and the super dense rainforests of West Papua, Indonesia. Brazil holds the highest concentration by far. We're talking robust evidence of 124 distinct groups. Then you have Peru with 28, Colombia with 18, and multiple uncontacted tribes out in the thick, forbidding jungles of Indonesia and New Guinea. These environments are literally their natural fortresses, keeping their lives totally untouched by the outside world. So why the extreme hiding? Well, the stark reality is that contact brings immense existential threats. That 2025 report, it actually predicts almost half of these 196 groups could be completely wiped out within 10 years. The main culprits are extractive industries, logging, mining, oil prospecting, just tearing through their protected lands. Then you've got roads slicing straight through the forest. But honestly, the most invisible and lethal threat is disease. They have zero immunity to our common bugs. And crazy enough, these days we're even seeing threats from well-funded missionaries and, believe it or not, social media influencers recklessly trying to track them down. This constant friction has built a pretty grim history of forced contact. Whenever isolation is breached, we see a recurring pattern of disease and tragedy. Let's look at a few examples. In 1961, a British explorer was killed by the Panara tribe in the Amazon. Fast forward to 1973, the government builds a massive road, the BR-163, straight through their territory. Within 12 months, over 250 Panara people died from newly introduced diseases. And you probably remember the global headlines in 2018 when American missionary John Allen Chaw was killed while illegally trying to contact the Sentinelese people in India. History just repeatedly shows us that uninvited contact almost always ends in catastrophe. To really grasp the devastating consequences of assimilation, we just have to look at the Nukak tribe in Colombia. They were nomadic hunter-gatherers, and initially they were actually receptive to contact from an outside evangelical group and started trading. But what happened next? A huge outbreak of respiratory infections that wiped out more than half the tribe. Plus, they got caught right in the crossfire of violent clashes with the listed drug traffickers. Eventually, they were forcibly relocated to a nearby town. Stripped of their self-reliance and their incredibly deep connection to the forest, they were basically reduced to living in poverty, totally dependent on government handouts. But hey, it's not all tragedy. We also have to talk about their absolutely incredible human ingenuity. Take the Mamuna and Korowai tribes, who survive in the super intense, leech-infested Papuan rainforest. Their entire livelihood is intertwined with that environment. They use the sago palm to extract the starchy, bread-like food that is the absolute core of their diet. And their architecture? Mind-blowing. They build massive, stilted tree houses up to 80 feet tall. And listen, building those isn't primitive. It's an incredibly advanced, highly calculated defense system against floods, dangerous animals, and rival clans. It takes immense strength and a genius-level understanding of the forest. Now, when people hear about the Korowai tribe, rumors about cannibalism usually dominate the conversation. But context is literally everything here. The Korowai do not eat humans for enjoyment or nutrition. It's actually a strictly structured, revenge-based justice system. Basically, if a sudden, mysterious disease kills someone in the tribe, they believe it's the work of a hakua, an evil demon disguised as a human, often a friend or family member. Ritual cannibalism is then performed on the suspected hakua. To them, it's a severe punishment and a necessary spiritual defense to protect the rest of the tribe. It's a completely different belief system, deeply rooted in survival. It is so incredibly easy for the outside world to just slap labels on these isolated groups, calling them fearsome or uncivilized. But anyone who has actually interacted with them peacefully will tell you a completely different story. They are fiercely, fiercely protective of their own. They're incredibly self-reliant. They pull everything they need, food, shelter, medicine, straight from their surroundings. But most importantly, they foster these incredibly deep, interwoven relationships. They laugh, they cry, and they love their families in this beautifully present, attentive way, something that, let's be honest, our modern society often loses while we're staring at our smartphones. There's this profound moment from vlogger Drew Binsky, who actually spent time with the Mamuna tribe, that captures this shared humanity just perfectly. After trekking through the jungle, totally terrified for his safety, he sat down to share a meal of sago cooked over an open fire. And he had this realization. Beneath the entirely different survival tactics, beneath the stone axes and the 80-foot tree houses, our human brains and our human hearts are exactly the same. We are all cut from the exact same clay, just navigating this human experience with whatever tools and environments we were handed.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. We so often equate civilization with modern technology, right? Our airplanes, our Wi-Fi, our massive concrete cities. But when you look at these uncontacted peoples who demonstrate profound ingenuity, unbelievable community bonds, and a sustainable harmony with their environment that has lasted for literally thousands of years, we really have to ask ourselves a difficult question. If survival, community, and an unwavering dedication to family are what truly define humanity, who's to say which of our worlds is truly the civilized one? Thank you so much for exploring this with me. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.